Pleasure to speak to the member from Leeds-Grenville's private member's bill. I think it's an absolutely important bill to speak to, and it's so nice to see a debate in this House on something of significance and importance instead of what we often get around to debating in government bills. And as the member from Leeds-Grenville said, we do hope that this is in the tradition of our parliamentary system, that a private member's bill will be a free vote. I first want to say to the member from Mississauga-Streetsville, we ought not to confuse political representation with the size of government, as he just did. There are many jurisdictions throughout the world that have bicameral systems and have significant political representation, but a smaller bureaucracy. I'll give you the example of New Hampshire. That small state of 1.2 million people has 430 state assemblymen. They also have a bicameral upper house of 24 senators. It is probably one of the most frugal and well-run states in the United States, but it is the state that has the largest political representation and the smallest bureaucracy. I also want to refer to the member from Trinity Spadina. I believe a couple of factual errors. He said that the only thing the Senate can do is delay bills. Well, that's not quite true. They can offer up amendments to bills initiated in the House of Commons. They can also advance their own Senate bills. Where they're restricted to or from is on bills of supply and taxation. So that's, and rightly, that belongs with a House that is elected by people. The whole concept of the Westminster system is a bicameral system, and it provides for that election by popular vote. It also, that upper house is there to provide some balance and some representation for regional diversity. That is the concept, of representation by geography as well as representation by population. It's shown around the world that it can be effective, and just to make reference, in Australia they moved to an elected upper house and has been quite successful with that upper house being elected. There are problems with our system. They've been identified for a long time. There's actually been 6 different reports. A member from Leeds-Grenville mentioned the McDonald Commission, also the Baudouin-Dobie report, but there's also been the Canada West Foundation, the Mulgat-Cosgrove report, the Alberta Select Committee, and of course the Charlottetown proposal. All of these proposals went with the idea that an elected Senate is indeed the way to go. And I'll just refer, clearly we can all recognize, especially members in this House, can clearly understand that for us to have legitimacy, where we derive our authority and our legitimacy from is from our election. If we were appointed, we would really not have any real authority or legitimacy. And in the McDonald report, they went on to say, the Senate is a part of Parliament, and Parliament is preeminently a representative body. For that reason, we join those who have argued that the Senate should be an elected body. The Baudouin-Dobie report in '92 said, if we wish to establish a strong and effective institution to ensure the responsiveness of the central government to regional needs, that's key, to regional needs, that institution needs to have the legitimacy which comes from having been chosen directly by the people. I think we can all understand that those are undeniable maxims. We understand them to be self-evident, that for representatives to have authority, they must be elected. Unlike the member from Mississauga-Streetsville in Trinity-Spadina, who believed that we should abolish the Senate, I believe that the Senate can and will have value if we make it legitimate. It will provide a check and balance on majority governments elected, oftentimes without representation from across this country. We have seen it in the past where governments are strongly dominated by some urban centres or by urban centres, and the people who do not live in those urban centres are disadvantaged. That's what the upper house is there to do, is to provide those people who don't live in those dense urban centres